Hello friends, it's your buddy Nick here with Game with the Guys. We're back in Dark Souls 3 in the Profane Capital. We're actually kind of working our way through the Irithyll Dungeon, but at this point we are down in the Profane Capital. And there are some interesting statues here, and these guys, I have no other way of saying this other than these guys look like some Socrates. Some Socrateses. Multiple Socrateses in their garb, in their just general look. This pole that they're carrying, I believe that it's a telescope. It's possible that it's some kind of weapon, but just kind of the way that the second guy appears to be kind of looking at it there instead of up where it's pointed, it seems that the one is aiming it, and then the other one is looking through it to, well, right now they wouldn't be really looking at anything, but it seems like this is something that they would be using to look at the skies. But, yeah, they're getting terrible views, so I could be completely wrong. Over in this direction, we have a lot more of the similar type of looking guys. I'm not going to go all the way over there. They're just, you know, they're all pretty much the same. But they're actually, I think that this is the same model, but without the pole itself. So as we're just seeing from looking back at Irithyll and then down here at the Profane Capital, two very different places, but become connected through the Profane Flame and likely through Pontiff Sulivan. And a gargoyle is going to come and jump over, but honestly, you don't need to fight him. Just run through this door. If you do want to fight him, he'll get stuck in this doorway and you can just shoot arrows at him or whatever, but I talked about last time how the Profane Flame is alive within their weapons, and you can kind of see it there. Oops, I don't want to have my bow out. This section here is, I don't want to call it a maze, but there's a couple of pitfalls, so you just have to be... Oh, no. Don't you do that. And as we come over here and take care of this guy, we can see that there are pitfalls as I collect another Twinkling Titanite. This area falls down, and that's actually... Oh, can we see one? There are sewer centipedes down there, and that swamp area is actually toxic. It is not poisonous, it is toxic. So one must be very careful as we get more good luck charms, and there is a sewer centipede. And right over here, we're actually going to make our way kind of into the area. This ground down here, like I said, this is toxic. But when dealing with toxic, get some blooming purple moss clumps. And if we take a look here, they do have some similar items in their description, but this is potently medicinal moss clump with a flower, reduces poison and toxin, cures ailments. A toxin is a more vicious form of poison which quickly leads to death. Moss clumps without blossoms are useless against toxin, and those who neglect to carry this flowered variety are simply courting an early demise. So if you're going to go anywhere with toxins, you need not purple moss clumps, but blooming purple moss clumps. And there's a lot of stuff going on here. We're really just going to go to a couple of things very quickly. You'll see there is an NPC up there. He is not a friendly chap. So we're just going to kind of do our best to get through here quickly as you see the toxin begin to jump up here. And we've picked up a purging stone. And I don't think these guys can get me from down below, but I think that we've looked at this before when we talked to Uria, I think. Ash-colored stone encasing a skull reduces... Oh, they can reach me. I thought I was safe. Silly me, silly me. Yeah, I believe that we looked at this. Inhabitants of Londra, the Land of Hollows, use this secret treasure to feign normalcy. So, Spelldexia doesn't have any hollowing if we come in here. Right below your level, it'll usually show what your hollowing is if you have any sigils. I do not have any sigils, so I do not have any hollowing. But what that will do is remove your hollowing entirely. We're going to come back to this area and get a lot of this stuff in here. Like I said, there's a lot more going on than what we're really going to do in the Profane Capital now. This is what's called a Monstrosity of Sin, aka a Hand Ogre. And it's a heavy hitter, but they can be defeated. So don't you worry about that. This guy, oh, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. I'm just going to see if I can poison him. Oh, you can, okay. I figured as much, but the real thing to do, and he hits pretty hard, is just like most other NPC enemies, bait out that attack and then follow through with your own. Oh, jeez. That would have been really bad if he would have got me with that. But there we go. We can take care of him. And the armor that he's wearing is actually called the Court Sorcerer set. And it's very close to here, but we're not going to get it right now. But what we do get is this scroll. Logan's Scroll. A secret scroll of the Profane Capital Court Sorcerers, containing sorceries of Logan. Give to a sorcerer to learn Logan's sorceries. And this does give you a couple of Logan sorceries back from Dark Souls 1. You'll get Soul Spear and Homing Soul Mass. And if you've played Dark Souls 1, you'll know that those are the original versions of the spells that he has. Later on, he gets more advanced versions, and we'll be able to learn those later on in the game too. The Court Sorcerers use the scroll to claim heirship to Logan's legacy, though how that claim stands up to closer scrutiny is another story. So we're kind of seeing multiple things here where someone is claiming legacy to Logan. The Crystal Sages do that, but then also these Court Sorcerers. But, I mean, that totally is viable because, like I said, this is some of Logan's earlier spells, and the Crystal Sages used some of Logan's later spells. Two different stages in Logan's storyline, and two, though similar, completely different spells. So, I mean, it is possible that these guys kind of followed in the way of early Logan, and the Court Sorcerers followed in the way of Logan post Duke's Archives. And there's another little goodie that we can just pick up very quickly over here. Just some poison arrows. And I'm pretty sure we've already taken a look at those. And from here, there's several paths that we can take. Most importantly, this one here. So we'll just jump across there. And if we follow these stairs up, we will actually reach Siegward. So if I get close here, I mentioned in the previous episode, you can probably see it, but right over there, that's the giant there. You can see its ankle. And you can actually talk to Siegward from that side, but it is far safer to talk to him from over here. So let's see what he has to say.
Oh. Pardon me, I was absorbed in thought. Oh, look at me, trapped like a rat. But you needn't worry. I've just been sitting here weighing my options. The moment has almost come. I just need a bit more time. My liberation requires a key. But the key is outside. A riddle for the ages.
So once again, Siegward is in a pickle, though he doesn't actually say it. This is the key that we used here, the old cell key. That's the one that we got in a chest right next to the mimic that was holding the what's it called? The dark clutch ring. So in here we get a very, very useful ring in the covetous gold serpent ring, and these have almost exactly the same description. The gold serpent ring, what you'll see there is that it boosts your item discovery by 50 points. And if we look at this, and this is actually very relevant to the area where it talks about the dragons here, depicting a snake that could have been but never was a dragon. And snakes are known as creatures of great avarice, devouring prey even larger than themselves by swallowing them whole. And then one's shackles are a cause for discontent. Perhaps it's time for some good old-fashioned greed. So we've talked a lot about this when we picked this up before, but this idea of dragon whatnots is pretty relevant because of finding the item that allows us to turn into dragons and introduces us to the way of the dragons. And Siegward talked about being trapped like a rat. Well, there are rats that are over here that are trapped, and this giant. But he will thank us for helping him out.
Oh, you are a saint. Once again, you are my valiant savior. I, Siegward of Katarina, express my deepest gratitude. Take this, a token of my thanks. Go on. It's all yours.
And in Dark Souls 1, Siegmeyer, his quest actually ended with gaining a Titanite slab also. So that is rather fitting that we find one here. And this is our first encounter with a Titanite slab. So we'll take a look at this in just a moment.
No, please. Go on ahead. I've my own road to take, and a duty to fulfill. Very soon.
There, he's talking about his duty once again, and in a upcoming episode, probably the next one, we will actually see that duty being fulfilled. So now it's time to take a look at this Titanite slab. Titanite slab for weapon reinforcement, said to once belong to the gods, reinforces weapons to their highest level. Titanite slabs are smithing materials of the gods, and weapons reinforced with slabs will be admired no less than their precious legendary weapons. Well, that's maybe I read that weird, but it just sounds like it's worded oddly. And in Dark Souls 1, the description talks about legendary slabs were the domain of gods, and they are the heirlooms of nameless blacksmith deity who forged the weapons of other gods. And if you look there, there appear to be runes written on the slab itself. And I found a user on Fextra Life called Scarecrow13, and he was actually able to translate the runes on the slab there. And I'll put a link on, and you can see his whole. He wrote a whole article on how he got through it. But the first line reads, "The meek sought God / the divine in the trees, as in arch trees." And then I can't pronounce this word, but it's Yggdrasil. It looks like the tree of life. Once again, arch trees bestows the gifts of plenty, joy, and health. The second line, they remained and hardship set in. They found a spark, and this is probably referring to the Lord Soul, or the first flame from Dark Souls 1, which turned into a sun, Gwyn, driving away the cold / ice. And terrible trouble came, which probably refers to the conflict with the dragons. The sun, this being Gwyn and his allies, ended this conflict. Now for line 3, it says, this age, as in the gods in Anor Londo, continued and began an era of wealth and plenty. Man will ascend. Cold / ice will return. And so that's the idea of the flame diminishing and it being the time of man upcoming. So that very much kind of tells the intro story from Dark Souls 1. Now, from here, we have much more to do. But this area has much more than we're going to do. So we're going to head up in this direction to get back to the Irithyll Dungeon. And you'll remember when we were up in the Giant's Domain that I pointed out a window and that there were jailers there. Well, this is the window, but I don't see any jailers. But they are here. They were invisible. And how they gained the ability to turn invisible, I don't know. But it's good to know that they're there, because if you just kind of walk by, they will quietly sneak up behind you. And as you come to the end of this this path here and grab the jailer's key ring, they'll be right behind you, and they will slaughter you. So let's take a look at this ring, though. Ring of keys to the Irithyll Dungeon held by the jailer. Opens most cell doors. On what grounds do they remain imprisoned, considering that by now they are mindless hollows or unrealized gibbering fools? And it seems that, as things turn hollow, they kind of just do whatever it was that they were doing before they went hollow. And so that's probably why the jailers just continue to keep them in here, is because that's kind of just what they always did. So now we're back in the Irithyll Dungeon, and we're right below this giant. Down below here, we can only see a few, but there are a lot of rats. So as we come down here, well, they're gonna attack, and like I said, there are a lot of them. And you can get the giant to kill them, but actually, let's see if they'll. Nope, they appear to be leashed right there. So he's gonna stop right here. And the giant goes back to sleep. He kind of woke up as these rats came in. And more will come. I don't know where they are. They should all be coming. This is actually really weird. I hope that they're all done. No, here comes some more. And as I was saying, you can talk to Siegward from this side, but I've finished off his dialogue, so he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. How rude, I know. But we can just continue to lead these rats back here, where they will be stuck and unable to attack me. But this is also a very, very helpful elevator, as this is going to lead us to a massive, massive shortcut. And as we get to the top here, we can all praise the sun, because this is, oh, so wonderful. That is the very first bonfire of the level. So, huge, huge shortcut. But like I said in, I think at some point in the last episode, is I don't want to rest. I want all of the dead to stay dead, because I'm going to make my way back through this whole area. And I don't want to have to fight everything else again. I assume that there's probably more rats. We see more coming here. So you can kind of just continue the same strategy of getting them to follow you and then trapping them in here. So I'll just kind of fast forward to the point of me actually fighting the giant. I don't want to... I don't want more rats to be coming in while I fight the giant, because it becomes very dangerous. These guys, they can injure you, and you can actually hit the giant and provoke him when you want him to just kind of still be sleeping, really. Now at this point, I think that all of the rats are done, and we can grab a few items here in the area, and we'll find a couple of large Titanite shards, but then this is the very interesting one. This is a spell called Profane Flame. So pyromancy deriving from the Profane Flame. The Profane Flame. Engulfs foes at range and burns them to ashes. The profane capital was consumed by fire after Yorm and the giant became a lord of Cinder. The fireborn of the sky is said to have incinerated not but human flesh. So I just wanted to read that very quickly. I'm going to talk more about that spell a lot later. The lore has a lot more to do with Yorm, and so I kind of want to save the discussion for then. But this spell is kind of the Dark Souls 3's version of Flameswathe. And it's a lot of fun to play with, and it has strong knockback, but it's kind of difficult to actually catch people with it. So now at this point, you know, the giant doesn't seem very hostile, but he's got something I want, so we're going to go ahead and kill him. Put him out of his misery. He's been rotting in this dungeon for far too long, so in my mind, we're actually doing him a favor. That's me talking myself into it. And as he dies here, we'll gain a Titanite chunk and some dung pies. And as you'll remember in the Cathedral of the Deep, the those giants there gave us large shards, and this guy gives us the chunk. And this is a mimic, so we're going to take him out. And Dragon Slayer lightning arrows is what we gain here. Better suited coming in here. Large spear-like arrows enveloped in lightning, created by the giant blacksmith of the gods. And you guys remember him from Dark Souls 1. He's the giant blacksmith that made lightning weapons. Can only be used with great bows, so it has a restriction there. Lightning has been a weapon of Dragon Slayers ever since the time of Gwyn, the first lord. And so you can see there that it only does lightning damage. It doesn't do physical damage at all. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, those were used for the dragon hunts, and the giant blacksmith was the one that helped out with that. And as we come up here, you'll recognize this area because it is kind of just where we were. We just climbed up within here, so now we're kind of up above. And there we are. Here we've got some lightning bolts. Bolts imbued with lightning created by the giant blacksmith of the gods. However, the gods never used crossbows, so they didn't make these for gods. These bolts are likely artifacts of the Dragonless era, when the pact between gods and humans was upheld. So, not used for dragons, but kind of based on the idea. If you look very closely at the bottom, there's a crystal lizard. This is actually where the giant was laying his head, was just right here. And as we came through the door, we were blocked off by him here. And he was actually kind of nuzzling the crystal lizard. It was just hanging out in here. And this area here allows us to kind of get back down to where we were. There is a ladder, but since I'm wearing my ring, I can just drop down. And now I want to go back to the area with all of the jailers. And I just realized something. Since I quit and reloaded... I never thought about that until just now. But, well, this might kill me, but... As we opened that treasure chest, the basilisks came from this hole. And so it's possible, when I said to just run away, if you would just quit and reload, that they would all disappear and go back up into that hole. And, you know, enemies will show up. If you've killed them, they will show up dead in the spots where they normally appear. So those guys are all just laid out in a row. And I believe this is some souls. Oh, nope. Better than souls. This, I believe, is an ember. Indeed. And we've got the dead jailers here. And there may be one left alive, and there is. This one is hiding back over here. So, I talked about a few methods for taking care of the jailers in this area. I used my staff. I talked about drawing them out one at a time with a bow. Another thing you can actually do is open this door. This lycanthrope back there will fight the jailers that have imprisoned him. Now, he probably won't be able to kill all of them, but it makes for a pretty good distraction. You can just run straight over here and open this door. Because I've already killed the jailers, there's absolutely no reason for me to open this door. There's no items in there or anything. All that's in there is a very strong lycanthrope. So I'll leave him in there, and I'll come over to this door here, where we've got a new NPC. This is Karla. Karla is voiced by a lovely and talented voice actress named Jenny Fennell. She also did voices for Annalise, the Vile Blood Queen, and Yosefka in Bloodborne. She did the Dark Moon Knight and Quelana in Dark Souls 1, and Yuria, the Witch, in Demon Souls. Very fitting, because Karla is basically the Yuria equivalent in Dark Souls 3. So yeah, she goes way back. And we won't be killing Karla anytime soon, so I kind of just wanted to talk about her ash. And her ash description says, "The spurned child of the abyss never dies, but phases in and out of its fringes. Only there is no one to search for her any longer." So, could this actually be Yuria from Demon Souls, and maybe Beatrice from Dark Souls 1, and maybe also Zuli, a witch that is mentioned in Dark Souls 2, possibly reincarnated or phasing in and out? And let's go ahead and talk to her, and she'll give us some more information here.
Oh, there you are. I thought you'd all but forgotten me. How sweet. Good to know that a skinny little heretic can still turn heads.
So she obviously has a case of mistaken identity. She thinks that we're one of the jailers, which this is very similar to when we first meet Yuria in Demon Souls. She thinks that we're one of the fat ministers. So let's continue with the dialogue.
Hmm? Oh, you're not one of them, are you? Accept my apologies for mistaking you for one of those leeches. So, what business have you here? This is a land of monstrosities, and I am no exception.
Well, we've already discussed your ashes, so we know all about you, but she talks about the jailers being leeches, which is super fitting because they have that special ability which leeches your health. But at this point, I'm going to say do not help, just to get the dialogue, but then obviously we will help her. So let's go ahead and try this out.
You are very frank. If you've no business here, take your leave at once. For your own sake. What is it? Something else? Ah, don't fret over me. I'm stuck here anyway.
So at this point we will offer help.
You're here to save me. But I'm guilty. A wretched child of the abyss. Is that something you can forgive?
And at this point you can say no, but we've already seen that dialogue. She just uses the exact same dialogue, so let's just move forward with saving her nonetheless.
Oh, really? You are no ordinary woman. Very well. Besides, I've grown tired of imprisonment. I am Karla, and I accept your proposal.
And she warps on out of here. So, as a child of the abyss, she really has her act together. Other enemies that we see that have any kind of association with the abyss are just either like complete monsters or just deranged. But she seems to really have her stuff together. This is the Alva armor set here. And I just want to kind of run over this way. And we'll take a look at this set here. Oops. Protection of Alva, Seeker of the Spurned. This steel helm was trimmed to reduce weight. To this day, the troubadours sing of tales of the wandering knight Alva and his travels, and his involvement with the saint and the witch. Needless to say, the songs traditionally end in tragedy. So we can display this armor set here, and now I look like Alva. But speaking of Alva, so the armor set talks about the saint and the witch, and let me just go ahead and pull this back up here. In Dark Souls 2, the description of the Alva armor says that Alva crossed many a land in search of a cure for Saint Soretta's sickness, but failed and relinquished his knighthood. Then, if we look at the Black Witch set from Dark Souls 2, it describes the Black Witch as Zuli the Witch, seducer of Alva, the Wayfarer, and goes on to say that she tried to ruin him, but ended up spending her life with him and supporting his endeavors. So the song that it says here may end in tragedy, but the spurned he seeks might actually be a loved one and not an enemy. And so the spurned might actually be Karla that we just met. And it's possible that Alva died here searching for her because he could never find the key to open the door. So, as I mentioned, the Black Witch set says that they ended up spending their life together, and she supported his endeavors. That could mean that, you know, maybe they kind of lived happily ever after, or that she kept running and that kept his drive alive to keep pursuing her. So either way, I mean, it could be love, it could be hate. The tales of tragedy could be the loss of Soretta, or it could be about this right here, that he died just outside of her door and never was able to reunite with Karla. So what do you think? Was it for love? Was it for hate? Was it hate and then love? That's the way that it sounds. But one way or the other, Seeker of the Spurned maybe never found her, or maybe did, but wasn't able to get all the way to her. And in here, we've got a couple of cool items. The Xanthus Ashes. Here we are here. Umbral Ash of a sorcerer who explored the golden sorceries of a long-lost land. With this, the Shrine Handmaid will prepare new items. They were called Xanthus Scholars, but some foolishly imitate them by simply dressing in yellow. So these ashes will unlock the Xanthus set and the Young White Branch. And the Young White Branch does the exact same thing as the Chameleon spell, which was a spell from Ulasil in Dark Souls 1. We know that the Xanthus Scholars are very fond of Ulasil. So, also, I wanted to mention that the Young White Branch originated from Dusk's staff. So it's kind of fitting that item is one of the items that's unlocked. If we look at the ashes here, it appears to be holding yellow cloth, probably from the actual Xanthus set, and the description makes it sound like posers basically donned the yellow garb and misdirected the legacy of Xanthus, perhaps, or that maybe that others say that they're Xanthus Scholars, but they're not truly Xanthus Scholars. And if we actually look back to Dark Souls 1, there was a guy named Jeremiah, and he was the king of Xanthus, and he wore similar armor, but yeah, sorceries were not his forte. We'll talk a little bit more about him when we look at his armor set himself, or itself. But at this point, speaking of fondness for Ulasil, and wait for it. we have the Dusk Crown Ring. Leaf-colored crown ring bestowed upon the Princess of Irithyll, Dusk. Ancient land of golden sorceries. Reduce spell FP consumption, but also lowers your hit points. Irithyll is synonymous for its lost sorceries, of which the Xanthous scholars are dedicated scholars. Or I said Xanthous sorcerers, I should say. This crown ring is a rare artifact of great magic heritage. Yeah, it says that this is an item of great magic heritage. In Dark Souls 1, we learned that this ring was given to Dusk upon her birth, and the reduction of FP the reduction of hit points doesn't really compare to how it was in Dark Souls 1. I believe it cut it in half, cut your max hit points in half. This will lower your hit points by about 20%, and then also lower the focus point consumption by 25%. And this item actually seems really out of place because the other Irithyll items that we found were in Farron Keep, so it's just kind of odd that we have this and the Xanthous ashes here in the dungeon. So somehow they were thrown in the dungeon, somehow, some way. Right over here we have another mimic, and this guy's going to drop a couple of Titanite scales for us once we kill it off. There we are there. And we have a big cage full of wretches in there. And it's actually easiest to come and fight these guys from this side, because we have a few that aren't particularly involved with fighting yet, so we can get rid of them quickly. And this guy wants some. Come get it. Come get some. And they have special weapons, and hopefully I can show off part of the interesting moveset that it has. And by saying show it off, I want them to do it. I don't want to show it myself, because I can't guarantee that I'm going to get a drop. So this guy has the dagger. He's got an acid spit that'll deteriorate the durability on your items. So watch out for that. This last guy has a spear, and hopefully he'll demonstrate. There it is. So that didn't look like much, but it's a weapon art that's actually derived from a weapon in Dark Souls 2 called the Drake Wing Ultra Greatsword, and it has a very similar weapon art. So they have a short sword and a short spear, or a spear I should say, and these items are crafted from a feeble tailbone and seen as a sign of the dragons. Their screams are oft heard inside the dungeon as they naively mutilate their unworthy flesh. And so we kind of got a glimpse at the weapon art there. And so it seems that these wretches are somehow failed attempts to become dragons or dragon-like. They are weak to lightning, and we are very near to the path of the dragon, so to speak. So it seems that maybe these guys were attempting to become dragons, but kind of went about it completely wrong, and so they became these disgusting wretches instead. We have a new coal here. This is the profane coal. So this is a coal used for weapon infusion, obviously. Remnants of the fire that burned down the profane capital, preserved in an icy skull. Give to the blacksmith in the shrine to allow the use of gems for dark, blood, and hollow infusion. So this is a combination of the profane capital and Irithyll. It has the fire that burned down the profane capital, preserved in an icy skull. Fire and ice. A song of ice and fire. This is all about Jon Snow. No, not really, but it's you've got the fire and ice there. And now we can take the shortcut that we opened up earlier and go back up to a higher section of the Irithyll Dungeon and open the remaining doors that we have not yet opened. So this is another one of the cage spiders, but you'll notice that the hollows inside wear what looks like the aristocrat's mask. And since I don't have any type of a pokey weapon, using an arrow to kill these guys is the best thing you can do. We have more of the aristocrat masks here, and candles and chairs and barrels and all sorts of stuff like that. So we've gone through here, killed all these jailers. We need to go back to the other side. There's a few more items over there that we have not yet picked up, and then we can head on back to Firelink. I tried to do plunging damage, but I hit the wrong button. Anyway, let's go ahead. We'll get rid of all of these cage spiders. There are an awful lot in this area, but when using a bow, they're not particularly dangerous. So we'll just get rid of all of these fellas. And ladies, there's probably men and women hollows within each one of these cages. Here we can use the jailer's key to get this item here, which is the prisoner chief's ashes. And we can take a look at this. Umbral Ash, the prisoner chief of the catacombs. So did he come from Karthus? Probably not really important. With this, the shrine handmaid will prepare new items. This unlocks the Rime Blue Moss Clump, Pale Pine Resin, and also Karla's set. So it doesn't really sound, those items sound more like Irithyll. They don't really sound like Karthus at all. So its usage of the word catacombs there might not really be of Karthus origins. The prisoner chief used his clout to hoard all manner of things, but died without putting them to use. Or maybe he was just able to collect things from Irithyll because that's what was nearby, as he hoarded as he used his clout to hoard a manner of all things. And if we look at the imagery there, it almost looks like he's holding coins. So very rich, but it didn't really do him any good within this jail cell. And if we look at this jail cell, this is the nicest jail cell they got. This is the best one. I think it's the only one with a chair in it. So definitely the nicest jail cell. We got one of these guys just hiding back here, so we'll get rid of him. Couple of souls here. We'll have a few more cage spiders. Oh wait, oh no, that was all of them. And at this point, I want to grab my torch, because there are some guys that don't particularly like fire. So let's get rid of some of these guys. Weapon is at risk. And see this fellow. Any one of those guys can actually turn into this, as we've seen them up by the Cathedral of the Deep. But we can use the fire to kind of stun him and just take him out like that. But yeah, it's best to obviously not let any of them turn into that monster. They're a lot more difficult. They can do all sorts of bleed stuff. But if you just go in there and just hack them up quickly, you can get rid of all of them. This is the old sorcerer set. And I can hear the guy next door banging away here. Attire of a sorcerer from the Vinheim School. The Vinheim Dragon School. Black dyed leather trousers and rugged boots. A sorcerer knows that long-term research means a lengthy and arduous road ahead. So it talks about the journeys. Long ago, sorcerers were said to always dress properly even while on distant journeys of discovery, even before such journeys were established curriculum. So this set goes back before the idea of going on the journeys. And this set is the Sorcerer set from Dark Souls 1. It looks really stupid, but the pants are okay, I guess. Oh, it's because I never put on. It's because I never put on the Sorcerer pants. Yeah, I like the pale shade pants. So we're gonna go back to the set that I was rocking, or the Fashion Souls that I was working. And over here, we've got one of these jerks. I don't think that you can hit him with a bow, but if you can, that's the way to do it. This guy can reach far beyond the cage itself, but and luckily I have my torch out, so I'm not getting a bunch of bleed damage from that. But these guys have significantly more hit points than the ones at the Cathedral of the Deep had. And this guy holds a very cool treasure. If he would just hurry up and die, jeez. So yeah, even inside of this cage, he's still really dangerous. Jeez, okay. That's enough of that. There we go. And he gives us great magic shield. This is actually a really cool spell. Let me go ahead and put this guy back on. Not that I'll really need it, but I need to get out here and go into the spells. Here we are. So this is a sorcery which improves upon magic shield, greatly reinforces left shield with magic. Only sorcerer swordsmen with special duties are permitted use of these spells. I was just seeing how similar these are. Which temporarily grants even the smallest of shields fortitude more akin to that of a great shield. This really buffs up your shield. It makes the shield block 100% on all damage types. It adds 35 points to the stability rating. This lasts for 40 seconds. You can increase that with the Lingering Dragon Crest Ring. But overall, this is a pretty awesome spell. You can really use this to take some hits and not really take them, I guess. Just really deflect a lot of hits. There are just a few more little places that I have not explored. They're pretty inconsequential, but they lead back to the bonfire. As you remember from the last episode, when I came bolting in here, I just kind of ran through and didn't really look at any of these cages at all. But this one, you actually need the Jailer's Key Ring to open, and it's a rusted gold coin. Over here, we have another one we can open. Large Titanite. I think there's one or two more. Let's see. Yeah, that's supposed to introduce you to the screen, but I never got around to that one until just now. So now we've gone all the way through. We've opened all the cells. We've done everything that we want to do in the Irithyll Dungeon. This area is complete. The Profane Capital still remains, but that's going to have to wait for next time. But for now, we still have a lot to do back in Firelink, so let's head back there. So, first stop, Shrine Handmaid. We've got a couple of things, and she just does her regular dialogue here, so we can just skip through that.
Gracious, let I over.
So, if we take a look at some of the new stuff here, this is Karla's set. Hat of the Dark Witch Karla, pointed hat, is the signature of a heretical sorceress, Karla. However, always kept it close. Coat of the Dark Witch Karla. This stained coat is torn and odorous, telling of a long journey and even longer imprisonment. It would be madness to wear such a thing. It has pretty good defenses there. I'll actually buy that. These ones, not enough defense for me, and they kind of just say the same thing as before. But now we can take a look at the Xanthus overcoat. Yellowish overcoat covering a band of brass medallions. Xanthus clothing is the mark of a researcher of lost sorceries, and the number of medallions denotes their success. A point of pride for the researchers, even if its significance is lost on others. So earlier when we picked up the ashes, I talked about Xanthus King Jeremiah. And he wore the Xanthus crown, which we got from Hazel. But even though this set is yellow, it's more the cape on it that's yellow. Jeremiah himself didn't really seem particularly interested in the sorceries of Irithyll. Jeremiah used chaos pyromancies, and he was banished to the Painted World. So how the Xanthus King got connected to the sorceries of Irithyll, that doesn't really make much sense. And as we look at this particular item, this actually seems more in line with Domhnall's armor set, Domhnall of Xena. Armor of the Glorious, which was adorned in many metals that are believed to symbolize glory. So, yeah, this kind of seems a little bit more like his armor. And so it's just kind of kind of odd that now Xanthus scholars are scholars of Irithyll sorceries. It does seem that their lineage kind of went astray somewhere, as I mentioned when looking at the ashes. And here we have the other items. Xanthus clothing is the mark of a researcher of lost sorceries, and it's said that that with golden sorceries one could manipulate light. That is true. These things are all beat up and ugly looking, and now we can kind of look at, this is kind of heavy, and then these ones are a little bit lighter, but
Ashen 1, Bish 1.
So there's some of the new armor that we have, and I'm going to go ahead and put this on. A little bit lighter, slight downtick in physical defenses, but the elemental is a little bit higher. And so I'm going to rock this because it looks kind of cool, and it's very flowy. It's so flowy. And now we have a coal to give to Andre.
Well, Matt, it's good to see ye in good health. What needs smithing this day?
We have, well, first we need to do this. Excellent. I think that's the only one. Yep.
Lords, where did you happen upon this coal? This is much too dark. I see the abyss in it. Yet a smith I remain. I won't turn down a request. But forget not, your fight is for the flame and for your fellow kin, just like mine. A cursed fate this may be, but hope remains, does it not?
So it sounds like Andre is kind of rooting for us to link the fire there. And he says that he sees the abyss within this coal, which is odd because it's from the profane capital, or it's the profane coal that is kind of a mixture of Irithyll and the profane capital. So the abyss, there might be something deeper there, but it could actually be not really a lot. And he says, you know, we have to do this for our fellow kin. I'm not really sure if Andre is a hollow, but I've always just kind of assumed that he's a demigod of some kind. And, I mean, his lips move when he talks. Who else does that? But let's just take a look in here. We can infuse something like this. And so our new ones we have are going to be the dark gem here. And maybe this is the darkness that he saw within it, or the abyss that he saw in it. We also have the blood gem, which I talked about a couple of episodes ago. But if we look, this is, you know, if you get back to our Shriving Stone, and then we look at the attribute bonuses between what it would normally be and then what a blood version would be. It has the same attribute bonuses. It's just the physical, the base physical goes down, and then the additional effect of the bleed goes up. Same thing with poison. They're going to be the same type of things there. And this is the new one, the Hollow Gem. And so this is also, you could say, a little bit abyssal or of the darkness. And once again, this is going to have the same attribute bonuses as a standard weapon would have, but the base physical is going to be a little bit lower, so you're going to get a little bit less out of the scaling. But this also adds probably about D level scaling to luck. So if you go really high level, this ends up pretty much outranking any other physical infusement. But if you're not going to go so high level and you don't want to invest that much in luck, then it's probably better to go refined.
Pretty be careful. I don't want to see my work squandered.
So I was talking about whether he was a hollow. I mean, he does kind of... those are probably just burns. I don't... Oh, ooh. Didn't mean to do that. Alright, we have got a scroll for Orbeck, so we can share that with him.
Back again, I see. Perfect timing, too. I'm in need of a diversion. Oh my. You've made quite the discovery. This is a scroll of the prodigious Big Hat Logan, a masterful sorcerer, long missed in Vinheim. And now we have his scroll, right here in my very hands.
So we can see here the new spells that we get from this. Homing Soul Mass, sorcery developed by Big Hat Logan, the great sorcerer who left the Dragon School in an age-long past, releases a Homing Soul Mass. This sorcery may offer a clue as to what Logan sought, but further investigation suggests its attraction to the living things mirrors the nature of the dark. So souls are attracted to, I guess they're like heat-seeking. The dark is heat-seeking. People are seekers of the flame. They're all intertwined. Soul Spear, sorcery developed by Big Hat Logan, great sorcerer who left the Dragon School, age of long past, fires a Soul Spear. The spear boasts superior penetrating power and is a testament to Logan's strength in battle. So just kind of giving him a compliment there. Not really a lot of lore on these, but more just kind of talking about the idea of how really close a lot of things are to each other. They seem so different. The idea of these soul arrows seem so different from, pyromancies, but the dark, the flame, the souls, humans, gods, demons, they're all just so similar.
Promise to stay safe.
But they all just pretend that they're so very different. Karla's back, and by back I mean here. I mean, she was never here before. I wonder if she likes my dress.
Ah, there you are. As I said, I am Karla, and am grateful to you. Now, what shall we do? The only thing that might interest you is my sorcery. Although my dark arts are a detestable sort. That wouldn't interest you, would it?
I'll start by declining, but yes, of course, I want her dark sorceries.
Most regrettable. I have nothing else, you see. Nothing at all. Have you so soon forgotten? That place is home only to monstrous things, and I am no exception. Ah, hello there. I'm sorry to say, this truly is all I have. Detestable sorceries that delve into the darkness of man.
So now we'll say that we'll learn them.
You're a wicked one, aren't you? Very well. Humans are of the dark, and you are no different. Some may avert their eyes, but the truth remains the truth. Be careful, though. Few humans are privy to this knowledge. Let it be a secret, kept between you and I.
And a lot of her dialogue kind of mimics the themes that Yuria, the Karla equivalent from Demon Souls, would talk to us about, kind of warning us about the darkness of the sorceries, but, you know, kind of saying that that's within everyone. And, you know, it's really... People don't want to think that it's in everywhere, but it really is. So... let's just talk to her a little bit more.
There is one thing that you should know. There is a darkness within man, and I am afraid you will peer into it. Whether the fear will spark self-reflection or a ruinous nostalgia is up to you entirely. Fear not. Your choice will bring you no scorn.
All right, so we can learn the dark sorceries that she has to offer. This first one is Affinity. A forbidden dark sorcery casts a dark manifestation of humanity. It appears to be an expression of envy or perhaps love towards another. And so that line right there kind of goes back to this idea of Alva and pursuing Karla. Was it for love? Was it for hate? So affinity just seems to be just a really strong emotion here that will tenaciously pursue its target, even if, like so many human desires, it amounts to nothing but misfortune. So yeah, that all kind of touches back. That lower half kind of just touches back on the Alva and the witch type thing here. But this is actually based. The spell is based on the spell Pursuers from Dark Souls 1, though uses the Hex's name from Dark Souls 2. And in Dark Souls 1, you would actually get this by trading in Manus' soul. So this works a lot like a dark form of Homing Soul Mass, but it's slower and has much stronger tracking ability, and obviously does dark damage rather than magic damage. And so it talks about it being a dark manifestation of humanity. And the image looks like the humanity phantoms that we encounter in the abyssal area in Dark Souls 1. And all three of the Souls games, they use this spell, and they all have the exact same logo. And all three of the games, when we look at the descriptions, they all talk about strong emotions. And so it's like that the strong emotions give the spell the attributes of some obsessive human, and you know those emotions are actually what powers the spell or something. And well, let's buy this. And then she also has Dark Edge, a forbidden dark sorcery. Strikes with blade formed of humanity's darkness. Passed from mother to daughter, this blade was intended for both protection and as a means of taking one's own life. The young girl never swung it more than once. This has an interesting description, though it doesn't really give any clues on who the mother and daughter are. I've heard different theories that it could be Velka that passed this down to Yuria's oldest sister, or that Zuli passed it down to Karla. But it could just also mean that this was a spell that was just passed down through the women's line in a family. It doesn't really say that it's any particular characters that we've met. Now it says that the young girl never swung it more than once, and that could be that the young girl took her own life, or that she used it and it was a powerful protection spell, and that it kind of frightened her, so she never used it again. And this is kind of like Soul Greatsword, except for this is a vertical attack rather than a horizontal sweep. And you know, I'll use these later when they have the actual ability, but it's kind of a similar type of idea, except for it does like I said, a vertical rather than horizontal attack. So we also have pyromancy tomes here that we can give her.
Oh, A pyromancy tome, have we? And one that resonates with the dark. Yes, well suited to me. Very well. If this is your wish, I will unravel the thing the best I can. Besides, it will be nice to play master for once.
Well, we've talked about these ones before, but now you can actually see that, yes, they are available, and I won't be gathering either one of these. I don't have the attributes to use them. But that is not the case with the spells here.
Another pyromancy tome, have we? Quelana, Witch of Izalith. Well, this is a fascinating pyromancy. I may be a heretical sorcerer, but you bring me nothing but pyromancies. Fiendish little lass, you.
And we've also talked about these ones, but we'll see that these are more kind of based in intelligence. And that kind of makes sense because we learned that before there were chaos pyromancies, there were actually flame sorceries. So Quelana's pyromancies kind of having this idea of requiring more intelligence makes sense because of that line. Now, we're going to have to take a look at...
You're my apprentice. Don't forget.
And that line there, that almost sounds like, I gave her the pyromancy. It almost sounds like the master pupil type of thing that we would hear from a pyromancer master. I'll show you the dialogue that you get when you give her the dark miracle tomes.
Oh, is this a divine tome? What on earth are you thinking? I wouldn't go near a divine tome, or any so-called miracle. And casters of miracles are sure to steer clear of me. So please, don't torture me so. Ah, you. How could you? Oh. I know. I owe my life to you. Fine then. But just this once, I will tell you this tale. But do understand, it will be my first time. I'll have no sniggering should I err.
So yeah, she doesn't seem very fond of the idea of teaching you dark miracles, but she'll kind of give you the same dialogue when you give her both of those. And this idea of how different the darkness is from miracles and stuff like that, this kind of really reminds me of Yuria from Demon Souls, and how the sorcerers and the clerics just really stayed away from each other, and they just thought the worst of each other. But yeah, that is going to do it for this time. We're going to head down into the Profane Capital some more and really get our hands dirty, and that's going to be Fake's job to do. I bought so many new sorceries and stuff that I don't have any souls left over to get any levels. But at this point, I will say thank you for watching. And if you're enjoying this playthrough, if you enjoyed this episode, if you learned something new, please hit that like button. If you've got any ideas on lore or on strategy that I didn't cover, or you want to discuss that a little bit more, use the comments down below. If you are a subscriber, share this with your buddies. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and then share with your buddies. All of that stuff really helps me out, and I appreciate that good stuff. But yeah, next time we're going to meet another Lord of Cinder, and we're going to look more at the Profane Capital. And there's a lot of mysteries down there, so that'll be a fun one. So thanks again for watching. We will see you next time.